This tutorial looks at launching an inflatable power kite to support your lessons. Launching a kite is the moment when a new kiter is most likely to have an accident, so pay close attention to the precautions in this video. Firstly, let's take an overview of the angles involved in launching a kite. You begin with your bar and lines downwind of the kite, which means the kite is on your upwind side. A kite on your upwind side cannot fly. You circle around the kite to change its angle relative to the wind. Eventually, the kite will be crosswind of you like this. After that, the kite will shift onto your downwind side. As the kite moves onto your downwind side, it will begin to catch the wind. You should see the kite's canopy fill with air, and you should even feel some tension in your center lines. The kite is now ready to launch. In this example, I circled this way for a launch at 3 o'clock. Of course, I can also circle this way for a launch at 9 o'clock. Whichever way the pilot plans to move, the kite launcher should hold the kite such that the inner arc of the leading edge aims towards where the pilot plans to stand. Now let's look more closely at the launch procedure. As mentioned, you've already set up your bar and lines downwind of the kite. Begin by inspecting your setup. The bar should be flipped over the wrong way compared to flying position. In this case, red rigs right. Lift each steering line to check it connects to the kite without obstruction. And check your center lines are in order. Next, connect your leash to the safety line. Then hook the chicken loop to your harness. You can pat your head to request that your launcher picks up the kite if they haven't done so already. At this stage, your kite is on your upwind side where it cannot fly. To get the kite into position, you circle the kite heading upwind. While walking around, avoid the temptation to cling to the bar. Here, I'm only holding the bar loosely to orientate the bar for flying position, in this case with red on the left. What you do want to do is keep a hand ready to use the chicken loop eject. Check your lines and make sure they look in order. Importantly, as you walk around, you must stay far enough from your kite that your center lines remain straight. I'll show why that matters so much later. At this point, the kite is now exactly crosswind, so it will soon be ready to fly. As you then move a little further upwind, the kite shifts onto your downwind side. The kite is ready when its canopy stops flapping and fills with air, and the center lines start to pull noticeably. The kite is now downwind enough that it can fly. Before launching, check your kite and lines again. At this point, everything about the kite and the lines should look how it does when you're flying the kite. Each line should go from the bar to the kite unobstructed. The bar should be in order, with red on the left and no lines caught around it. The center lines should be taut, and the steering line should have some slack with the bar out. The kite shape should be normal with no strange bends or distortions. If everything is in order, you're ready to launch. A thumbs up will let your launcher know they can release the kite. When launching, you should steer the kite up slowly using one hand, so that the other hand can be ready on the chicken loop eject in case there's a problem on launch. This was a launch from 3 o'clock. Here is another launch from 9 o'clock. You might wonder why launching is so risky. Firstly, during a launch you might be closer to hazards and hard objects than you otherwise would. So if you make a mistake and get pulled over by your kite, you're more likely to hit something and get badly injured. Secondly, launching is the moment when you'll find out if there's an issue with your kite and it's out of control. There could be a bridle caught on a wingtip. There could be a line tangle you didn't notice. The wind might not be what you expected. Several things can happen that will mean that your kite is out of control immediately on launch. These things can all be avoided, but you must assume the kite could be out of control on launch. That's why I strongly recommend you launch with a hand ready on the chicken loop eject. Then, if there is a problem, you have a good chance of ejecting your kite before you get hurt. Now, let's look at a few launch mistakes to watch out for. If you do not position the kite at the correct angle relative to the wind, your launch will have problems. If, for example, your kite is positioned too far upwind, like this, then the kite will not have caught the wind yet, and you will not be able to control it. Luckily, in this demo, the kite drifted downwind into the correct position. However, this could have gone much worse. As the kite drifts, it can roll over and then fly straight at high power. You could tell that the kite wasn't ready to fly by the way that the canopy was flapping loosely like this. When the kite moves downwind of you enough, the canopy will catch the wind and stop flapping like this. You want to see that before you launch. At the other extreme, if you walk too far upwind, you'll position the kite too far downwind nearer to high power. In that case, you and your launcher can easily get knocked over during a launch. You could tell the kite was too far downwind by the high line tension and by how firmly the kite was pushing into the launcher. If you see this, you can simply circle back downwind a few meters to reduce the force from the kite. It's very easy to get your kite positioning wrong if you try walking into position with your line slack like this. With the line slack, you will not feel any feedback from the kite. You could then, for example, easily walk too far upwind, and you wouldn't know that the kite has too much power until you straighten out the lines. Here are a few extra safety tips. The Kitemares series has examples of failed launches with detailed explanations. I'll put links to those examples below rather than repeating that content here. A good way to make launches safer is lots of practice during your lessons. An instructor will choose gear and locations that make launching safe. It also helps to think about where you set up. Try to rig your kite so that you're as far from hazards as possible and nearer to the water. The kite launcher plays a key role in a safe launch. It helps if you hold the kite so that its inner arc aims towards where the pilot will stand. You don't want the kite tilted like this, for example. You also don't want the kite pushed into the ground like this. That will mess with the line slack, making it harder for the pilot to assess their kite. Hold the kite high enough that when it does catch the wind, it can take its own natural shape. The kite launcher can also help with inspection, especially of the upper lines and bridles, of which they have a better view. If you see a mistake, you can give a thumbs down and prevent a failed launch. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video reduces the number of accidents that happen during kite launches.